Good morning, English Ned here in my YouTube channel, broadcasting to you, and this morning giving you the confessionals of my own life. That's right. I'm going to give you a number of adventures today that are my own stories, things that have actually happened to me. And before I get back on the kick of telling kids fairy tales, which I'm going to be doing, I hope, this afternoon. So when I got on this morning, I've already made one short film about one of my stories, and I had intended when I started, and I was describing this story, not the one I wound up telling, right? The story I told you I'm going to call the story of the three young muggers. This is the story of Satan, whom personally attacked me in the 1980s outside of my residence. Excuse me. As you can see, the very thought of the encounter frightens me to this day. And this took place at a time in my life which was very important. I'd just gone a few months previous to South Dakota for the very first time in my life. I was always drawn to go there for reasons I never clearly understood. I don't understand them to this day, but my trip to South Dakota, the first one, of course I've been there several times now, was like a line in the sand. And there was my life before I went there, and then there was my life after I went there. And the two were never going to be the same. This here is the result of my trip to South Dakota, okay? So anyway, here's how this went about. December 23rd of that year, which also happened to be the 10th anniversary of the death of my beloved grandpa, who I think I've even talked about already in some of these stories. But if I don't, I'm surely will, because he was a great man and helped to shape me tremendously. Anyway, I was feeling pretty good. I was all ready to just bop out into my car and head into the city to my favorite bar and meet some girl that I just met, who happened to be a lawyer. So I get down to my lobby and I see my super's kid and one of his friends. I guess they were around 10 or so, and they were kind of like this at the front door, holding it open and just peeking around it and looking outside. So what did I think? They didn't say anything to me, so I assumed that they were just playing a game of hide and seek or something with one of their friends, right? And I hear them asking each other, is he out there? Is he out there? Is he still out there? And, so me, I didn't think a thing of it. I just said, excuse me, and trotted on past him and out into the courtyard out front. So I heard a growl. It was rather inhuman. It sounded something like this. I'm going to do the best I can to portray what actually happened that night, because the effect on me was profound and life-changing, as my trip to South Dakota was. Now that's as close as I can come to what I actually heard, okay? So I looked over and I saw this individual with a crew cut and a white sweatshirt on, crouched down on the concrete. And then I heard, "Where's my car keys?" So, not getting it, never having met the devil himself before, I never was really important enough for him to attack me, I didn't think, So anyway, I said, I don't know, sir. I don't know you. I have no idea. I know nothing about your car keys. Excuse me, I have to go. And that was where I made the mistake that almost cost me my life. I turned my back on him. and wanted to trot right off to my car, which was about 30, 40 feet away, just on the other side of the street, directly. The next thing I knew, I heard him lunge at me with all of his weight, and he hit me. I went down immediately and put my left arm out behind me to cushion my fall on the sidewalk, and I heard all the ligaments, tendons, whatever, in my left elbow crunch and tear. So immediately he crippled me. This is getting serious. My glasses went flying off somewhere and got broken. I used to wear glasses at the time. One of my personal miracles is the fact that I don't any longer, which surprises people, especially at my advanced age. But anyway, I digress. Suddenly, I realized he was much bigger than me, much bigger than he appeared when he was crouched down, and much heavier. He probably weighed a good 225 pounds to my 150, and was maybe 3-4 inches taller than me. I would say he was maybe 6'1", 6'2", at least, me being 5'11". So I'm down there screaming. I see apartment lights coming on in the windows, and I'm thinking I'm going to sell myself. I'm going to see my story on the Daily News or the New York Post in the morning as a victim of a frightful murder. And I said, this is crazy. I don't know you. I don't want to hurt you. Would you please just get... No, I get ahead of myself, right? I don't know you, I said. Would you not do this? I don't want to hurt you. And he grabbed... I had a scarf on. I don't know why, because... Well, no, it was December 23rd, right? I mean, yeah, of course, it was wintertime. So I had a scarf on, and he grabs it like this and starts trying to strangle me with it. At which point, I said... This is, and I was kicking him in the balls as much as I could. I had no leverage, but I was trying something, anything, you know. And the next thing I knew, he put his hand on my face like this. And somewhere, when I was very young in my life, I picked up the factoid that the jaw muscle is the very strongest one in your body. And so I grabbed his thumb in my teeth and a bit down as hard as I fucking could. He didn't scream, but he jerked his thumb out and paused. Now, when he took his thumb out, he took that tooth along with it. That was... I was still pretty convinced I was a dead man. I mean, when I went to my dentist a few days later, after having been to the dentist at the ER, my dentist had the tooth in his hand. So, and it's here to this day, and this is, you know, decades later. So, he was actually a pretty good dentist, I think, right? His name was Dr. Hellman. I'm sure he's long since retired. But anyway, as he hesitated, a golden voice sounded in my head like a gong. And said 2 words. Say, please. This is God's truth. And I've never told anyone this before, but South Dakota was the place where my spirituality was awakened in a very, I won't say violent way, but a more powerful way, I think, than anyone can imagine from the adventures I had out there, which I will be talking about on film. But I wasn't prepared for this, and my belief has been since it occurred that I was attacked by Satan in a last-ditch effort to stop me from doing God's work, which I am called to do. I truly believe that, and I always will. So I see the fact that Satan attacked me as a badge of honor and as a very positive thing, really, ultimately, for what happened. So, anyway, here I am. Satan is choking the life out of me, but he paused for a second. And I said, all I could get out of this cat before this was, I'm Satan, I'm going to cut out your heart. If you think I wasn't pissing my pants, you're wrong, okay? So anyway, as he paused, I said, after I heard those words in my head, I said, this is crazy. I don't know you. I don't want to hurt you. Will you please let me go? And the very instant I said that magic word, a light snapped on in the eyes of this demon who was trying to kill me with all of his soul. Please! That's the magic word! You have said it! I'm going to let you go now. So, I relaxed for a minute, not knowing what to think at that point. I really thought he was just bullshitting me. He was going to kill me anyway. But as soon as I relaxed, he jumped the fuck up and ran. I think as fast as he could. Like the devil was chasing him, right? So, I crawled in my building. I was bleeding at the jaw. I had a tooth coming out. And I only had one arm. And I got up into my apartment and called the police. And I called one of my best friends to come over and support me. One of my best friends I've ever had. His name was also Jeff, like many of my good friends have been. You just got a secret out of me right there, didn't you? But anyway, all of a sudden, somebody's pounding at my door. So I got up and went off the floor and went over there. And there's a policeman there. And he says, would you like to come and identify the individual that attacked you? And I said, would I like to come and identify him? You bet your ass. Let's go. So we went down. I got into the cop car. And they took me about a block and a half away to the subway station on Avenue M in Brooklyn, which is, at the time, it was the D line. Now, of course, it's the Q and has been for many years. But unless they've changed it since I left, which is entirely possible with all the bullshit going on down in New York these days. But anyway, I'm off the track again. They took me over by the subway station, and I got out, and they had Satan in cuffs, collared in the back of a squad car, and he was agitated and moving around and shaking and whatever the fuck, and foam was just flecked all over and flying out of his mouth. Completely mad, completely incoherent. Now, I suppose that this could have been the result of angel dust or crack or something. I don't know. I've never done nothing like that, and I have no idea what they actually do. I've only heard stories, right? But I know damn well a case of demonic possession. I've never seen one before, but I know damn well that it's real, and I've seen one now. You can decide for yourself. I don't really care. So I said, yeah, that's him. And I learned in the process, I took him to court. I wound up getting a settlement out of him, small and ridiculous, but it did pay my medical expenses, which were about $700, I think, at the time. And, he had been coming to my house with his wife and his baby, apologizing, up and down, and begging me not to have him arrested. It was a sad sight. He actually lived just a few blocks away from me, but I never saw him again. I had a protective order, but I don't think I needed it. The human side of him had nothing against me. It was just one of those things. He got taken over by an entity that was more powerful than he is. And that is also an experience I have now had and can sympathize with. I mean, look at this. It grew 11 inches this month because I met somebody that was powerful enough to cause that to happen. But what I learned is that Satan had gone on a rampage in the subway station, and it took about 20 cops to take him down. You tell me that's not a fucking demon, okay? And I think he injured somewhere between 5 and 12 of them. So I don't know what he wound up doing for doing all that. I suppose if he had a decent lawyer, they could make a claim of insanity, you know, not guilty by reason of insanity, because I would have testified anyway that the man was surely insane that night. And that, I think, concludes the story of my encounter with the devil himself. Thank you for listening.